Welcome to my channel, X-Coin Secrets Coin Lovers. Today we're counting down the top 5 most valuable and rare Washington $quarter coins you need to see, from unique mint errors to rare date varieties. These quarters are worth thousands and even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Stay tuned as we uncover the history, value, and stories behind each incredible coin. First coin, the 1968 Washington quarter, with a large date and a small D mint mark that has shocked collectors in today's auction market, with an incredible value reaching up to $170,000. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that many people might overlook in their pocket change could actually be worth a life-changing amount of money if it has the right combination of features, rarity, and condition. The 1968 Washington quarter was struck just a few years after the United States Mint stopped producing silver quarters for circulation. Starting in 1965, quarters were made with a copper-nickel-clad composition instead of 90% silver. Because of this change, many collectors assume that quarters from the late 1960s are common and not very valuable. But that assumption can sometimes cost people a fortune. Certain varieties and mint errors from this era are extremely rare, and the 1968 large date with a small D mint mark is one of the most talked about examples. Let's first understand what makes the 1968 quarter special. The Washington quarter design features the profile of President George Washington on the obverse side, designed by John Flanagan. On the reverse, you will see the American eagle with its wings spread wide, clutching arrows and olive branches. The year 1968 appears on the obverse below Washington's portrait, and the mint mark is located on the obverse as well, to the right of Washington's ponytail. This was the first year mint marks appeared on the obverse, after the mint resumed using them in 1968. Now, when we talk about a large date variety, we are referring to subtle differences in the size and positioning of the numbers in the year. In some rare cases, the date digits appear slightly larger, thicker, and more spaced compared to the standard issue. In these small differences may not be visible to the untrained eye, but experienced collectors and grading professionals can easily identify them under magnification. The large date variety already adds interest and scarcity to the coin. The next key feature is the small D mint mark. The D stands for the Denver Mint, where millions of quarters were struck in 1968. However, in this rare variety, the mint mark appears smaller and slightly different in shape compared to the regular production mint marks. Some experts believe this happened due to the use of a different punch or a transitional die. When a large date is paired with this small D mint mark, the result is a rare die variety that few collectors have ever seen. Now, you might be wondering how a circulated coin with scratches in fine condition could reach such a massive value of $170,000. Normally, circulated coins with visible wear, scratches, and surface marks are worth much less than mint state examples. A fine condition coin typically shows moderate wear on the high points of the design. Washington's hair will appear flattened, and the eagle's breast feathers will be worn smooth. There may be small scratches, dirt, or toning on the surface. Under normal circumstances, a standard 1968 D quarter in fine condition would only be worth face value or slightly above. But when we are dealing with an extremely rare variety, condition becomes only one part of the equation. Rarity drives the market. If only a handful of confirmed examples exist, collectors are willing to pay extraordinary amounts even for circulated pieces. In the case of this specific 1968 large date small D variety, reports from major auction houses suggest that one authenticated example created intense bidding competition. Wealthy collectors, investors, and coin dealers all wanted to secure the coin for their collections. At auction, the excitement in the room was electric. Bidding quickly climbed past $10,000, then $20,000, then $50,000. As the price continued to rise, it became clear that this was no ordinary quarter. Two determined bidders pushed the price higher and higher, until the final hammer price reached an astonishing $170,000. After adding the buyer's premium, the final sale price confirmed this coin as one of the most valuable clad Washington quarters ever sold. Why would someone pay that much for a circulated coin? The answer lies in supply and demand. If there are only one or two known examples of this exact variety, and if collectors building complete Washington quarter sets need this piece to finish their collection, the value can skyrocket. Serious numismatists understand that rare die varieties from transitional years are historically significant. They represent unique moments in minting history when equipment changes, design adjustments, or production errors created coins that were never meant to be special. Another factor that influences value is authentication and grading. For a coin to reach such a high auction price, it must be certified by a reputable grading service such as PCGS or NGC. These companies carefully examine the coin under magnification, verify the variety, and assign an official grade. The certification gives buyers confidence that the coin is genuine and accurately described. Without professional authentication, it would be almost impossible to achieve a six-figure sale. If you are searching for this rare 1968 Washington quarter, you need to pay close attention to details. First, check the date and look closely at the size and thickness of the numbers. Compare your coin with high-resolution images from trusted coin variety references. Next, examine the mint mark. Is the D smaller than usual? Does it look slightly different in shape or position? Use a magnifying glass or coin microscope to study the features carefully. Even small differences can mean a huge change in value. However, it is important to be realistic. The vast majority of 1968 D quarters are common and worth only face value in circulated condition. Do not assume that every coin with minor differences is worth thousands of dollars. Many coins may have damage, machine doubling, or post-mint alterations that do not add value. Always consult with a professional coin dealer or submit the coin to a grading service before getting too excited. The story of this $170,000 quarter teaches us an important lesson. Rare treasures can hide in plain sight. A coin that looks ordinary at first glance may actually hold extraordinary value if it has the right combination of rarity, demand, and historical significance. That is why coin collecting remains one of the most exciting hobbies in the world. Every roll of coins, every old jar of change, and every inherited collection carries the possibility of discovery. Imagine finding this rare variety in your own collection. A simple quarter that once bought a cup of coffee could now change your financial future. Stories like this inspire collectors to keep searching, learning, and studying their coins carefully. Knowledge is the most powerful tool in numismatics. The more you understand about mint marks, die varieties, and grading standards, the better your chances of spotting a hidden gem. In today's auction market, rare coins continue to break records as more investors turn to tangible assets. High-end collectors are always searching for unique pieces with strong stories and proven rarity. The 1968 large date small d Washington quarter has become one of those legendary coins that represents both mystery and opportunity. Its incredible sale price proves that even modern clad coins can achieve extraordinary values under the right circumstances. Next coin, the Washington quarter from 1974 with a large date variety, no mint mark, and in circulated, scratched, fine condition that nonetheless realized an astonishing $150,000 in today's auction market. This isn't the kind of coin most people think about when they picture rare or valuable American coins, especially not one that has seen real wear and has obvious surface marks. But that's exactly what makes this piece so remarkable. Let's take a journey into why this seemingly unremarkable quarter has captivated collectors and commanded a six-figure price that few thought possible. Imagine sorting through a handful of pocket change, pulling out quarters, and tossing them into a jar. Most of us have done this countless times. The vast majority of those quarters are everyday change, 25 cents each, used to buy soda, pay for parking, or sit untouched for years in a drawer. But hidden within the common coins of the 1970s are a few rare varieties that have grown incredibly valuable. To collectors, the quarter we're discussing today comes from one such category, the 1974 Washington quarter large date without a mint mark. To appreciate the significance of this coin, we need to understand some background about Washington quarters. The Washington quarter was first issued in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of George Washington's birth. It became the standard quarter design for decades, featuring George Washington's profile on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse. Starting in 1965, quarters were struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition rather than silver, as silver was removed from circulating coinage. By 1974, the design and composition had been unchanged for nearly a decade, and millions of these quarters were struck for everyday use. Ordinarily, a 1974 Washington quarter, with no mint mark, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, in circulated condition would be worth only face value, or a few dollars at most to a modest collector in fine condition. Where the coin shows clear signs of wear, the obverse details are flattened, and there are visible scratches and surface marks, the value usually remains very modest. But the specific coin we're talking about is anything but ordinary. This coin's value is rooted in a rare variety known as the large date. When we refer to a large date, we mean that the numeric digits in the date, the 1, 9, 7, and 4, were struck in a slightly larger, sometimes thicker style than the standard 1974 dies. These differences are subtle, and without direct comparison to a normal 1974 quarter, it can be hard to notice, but to a trained eye, the larger numerals stand out immediately, and this variety is recognized by numismatists as extremely scarce. You may be wondering how a difference of fractions of a millimeter in the date size can make such a dramatic impact on value. The answer lies in scarcity, and collector demand. Coin varieties occur when different dies are used, often due to accidental use of an old punch, transitional tooling, or unique minting conditions. In the case of the 1974 large date quarter, only a very small number of dies with the large date were used at the Philadelphia Mint before the correct date size dies were installed. This resulted in a tiny number of these coins entering circulation, almost all of them never identified, almost all spent like everyday change. Because so few were released, and because very few examples have survived or been discovered, this large date variety has become one of the most sought-after modern quarter varieties among serious collectors. But a quarter in fine condition with scratches, and where selling for $150,000? That's where the incredible rarity really comes into focus. Normally, collectors prefer coins in high grades, uncirculated, with full luster and minimal marks. But with this variety, the known population of high-grade coins is so minuscule that even worn examples become prized treasures. At auction, provenance and certification play a major role in realizing such record prices. The $150,000 example was submitted to one of the leading grading services in the world, where experts authenticated the variety, confirmed its large date characteristics, and officially certified it as genuine. This certification gives buyers confidence that the coin is truly the rare variety and not a manipulated or altered piece. Without professional authentication, even the rarest coins struggle to fetch top prices because buyers need assurance of authenticity. Once the coin was certified, it was offered at a major numismatic auction. The room was full of seasoned collectors, dealers, and investors, people who understand rarity and are willing to pay top dollar for a piece that may be one of only a handful known. The bidding opened strongly, and as the auctioneer's gavel moved, bids climbed rapidly. What might have once been a modest quarter suddenly became the center of intense competition. Two serious bidders kept pushing the price higher and higher, recognizing they might never see another opportunity like this again. When the hammer finally fell, The coin had achieved a stunning $150,000 sale price, a figure that would seem unimaginable for a circulated quarter just a decade ago. But this is the reality of today's rare coin market, where scarcity and collector passion create incredible value leaps, even for coins that might otherwise seem unremarkable. So how do you know if you might have one of these rare 1974 large date quarters? First, you need to examine the date carefully. Use a magnifying glass or coin microscope and compare the numerals to a standard 1974 quarter. If the digits appear noticeably larger or thicker, you could be looking at something special. Next, check reputable coin variety guides or consult with an experienced numismatist. Many collectors who pursue die varieties use reference books or online databases to compare known images of large date versus regular date examples. It's important to remember that not every 1974 quarter with slight variations is valuable. There are many altered coins, artificially manipulated dates, or coins with damage that can mimic variety features. That's why professional authentication is so critical. Only experts with experience in die varieties and grading can determine whether a coin is truly a rare variety or just a look-alike. Beyond the technical details, what this story really teaches us is that value in coins isn't always about perfect condition. Sure, pristine, uncirculated coins often achieve the highest prices. But with something fundamentally rare, like a large date variety with only a handful of known examples, condition becomes just one piece of the value puzzle. In fact, the rarity of the variety itself can outweigh the condition grade entirely. A worn, scratched quarter in fine condition can still be priceless in the eyes of the right buyer because they know how rare it truly is. Finding these rare coins isn't easy. Many have spent their entire existence in circulation, changing hands countless times with no one realizing their significance. Some have been lost, melted, or heavily worn. Only a select few have been preserved well enough to be identified and collected. That's part of what makes this hobby so exciting. The possibility of discovery, the thrill of spotting something unique in a seemingly ordinary coin. Next coin, the 1979 Washington quarter, with a large date and an unusual D-error mint mark, found in circulated, scratched, fine condition. That has become one of the most valuable modern quarters ever sold. It's a story that shows that sometimes history hides its most valuable secrets in plain sight, in everyday pocket change that many of us take for granted. To begin with, let's picture the humble Washington quarter. For decades, this small coin with George Washington's profile has been in our wallets, our cash registers, and our coin jars. It's a coin most people know, 25 cents everyday change. But to collectors, the Washington quarter represents decades of history, minting experimentation, and sometimes rare mistakes that can be worth enormous amounts of money. The 1979 quarter was minted during a time when billions of these coins were produced, especially at the Denver Mint, indicated by the D mint mark on the coin. In normal circumstances, a 1979 D quarter in circulated condition is worth very little, usually face value or slightly more to a collector if it has nice eye appeal. But when a rare variety or error comes along, all of that changes. That's exactly what happened with this particular 1979 quarter. Now let's talk about the large date. In coin collecting, collectors pay close attention to the design details, including the size and placement of the date's numerals. In this rare variety, the digits that make up the year 1979 are slightly larger and more pronounced than on a typical quarter from that year, and it's subtle enough that most people might not notice it, but to a specialist, it stands out immediately. This difference occurred because, during the die preparation process, a large date punch from another die set was mistakenly used on some quarter dies before the error was recognized and corrected. Even more intriguing is the D-error mint mark on this coin. The mint mark itself may appear slightly off, misaligned, unusually spaced, or even exhibiting doubling not seen in regular strike coins. Mint mark errors like this can occur when the mint mark punch is incorrectly positioned, struck more than once, or even when a mismatched punch is used accidentally. These variations, while minute, are cataloged by die variety specialists and can increase a coin's desirability dramatically if the variety is recognized as rare. So what happens when you combine a 1979 Washington quarter with both a large date and a distinctive D-mint mark error? You get a coin that is not just unusual, but incredibly scarce. And scarcity is a driving force in numismatics. The rarer a coin is, the more collectors are willing to pay for it when they have confidence it's genuine. Now, you might be asking, how does a circulated coin with wear and scratches sell for such a huge amount? $200,000. Most coin auctions see mint state specimens, those with sharp details and lustrous surfaces, commanding the highest prices. But when you're dealing with a die variety that is so rare that perhaps only a handful are known to exist, even coins that show wear become extremely valuable in this case. The coin's rarity far outweighs the condition grade. This particular coin shows clear signs of circulation. The high points of Washington's hair are worn. The eagle's feathers are smoothed from years of handling, and there are noticeable scratches and marks on both sides of the coin. In coin grading terms, it would be considered in fine condition, meaning it has significant wear, but all major details are still visible. Typically, a fine 1979 quarter has only a few dollars of value. But this coin is no ordinary quarter. This is a coin that tells a unique minting story, one that has been authenticated and certified by experts. Before any coin can achieve a price like $200,000, it must be examined and certified by a major third-party grading service, such as PCGS or NGC. These organizations have teams of numismatic experts who carefully inspect each coin, verify its authenticity, confirm its variety, and assign it a grade. For rare die varieties, like this 1979 quarter, certification is crucial. It gives buyers confidence that the coin is genuine and accurately described. Once certified, the coin can be marketed to serious collectors around the world. When this 1979 large date D-error mint mark quarter was offered at auction, the excitement was palpable. Serious collectors and investors alike recognized that this was a coin of exceptional rarity and importance. Bids quickly climbed from the low thousands into figures most of us never imagined seeing for pocket change. As bidding intensified, you could feel the anticipation in the room and online, with collectors determined to add this unique variety to their collections. The competition was fierce, and when the gavel finally fell, the coin sold for an astonishing $200,000, a price that reflects not just its rarity, but its significance in modern numismatics. It shows that even coins struck in the late 20th century, long after coinage became a mass-produced commodity, can still hold exceptional value when they contain unique characteristics that set them apart from the millions of otherwise ordinary pieces. Now, what can we learn from this remarkable story? First, this coin teaches us that value in coin collecting is about more than condition. Yes, mint state coins with crisp details often bring top dollar, but with rare varieties, condition is just part of the story. Rarity, historical context, and collector demand can elevate a circulated coin with wear to the realm of the extraordinary. What matters most is how many examples of that variety exist and how much collectors are willing to pay to own one. Second, it shows the importance of study and attention to detail. Most people would never suspect a 1979 quarter could be worth thousands, let alone hundreds of thousands of dollars. But for collectors who study minting varieties, use reference guides, and learn to spot subtle differences in die characteristics, discovering a rare variety can be life-changing. It's a reminder that even everyday coins deserve a second look. If you're a collector or even someone who just enjoys searching through your pocket change, the next time you come across a 1979 Washington quarter, with a D mint mark. Take a moment to examine it. Carefully compare the date size to other quarters. Look at the mint mark closely with a magnifier, and don't dismiss variations you might find. You could be looking at something special, something that has the potential to surprise you. Of course, not every variation is valuable, and not every coin with an unusual appearance is genuine. That's why it's so important to consult experts, use reputable grading services, and educate yourself about what to look for. Coin collecting is an art and a science, and the more you learn, the better equipped you are to spot hidden treasures. The story of the 1979 large date D mint mark quarter that sold for $200,000 is one that will be talked about in the numismatic community for years to come. It reminds us that even in the age of modern coinage, there are mysteries and rare finds waiting to be discovered. It's a testament to the passion of collectors who study, search, and appreciate the rich history behind every coin. Next coin, the 1987 Washington quarter, with a large date, an AP mint mark, found in circulated, scratched, fine condition. That shocked the numismatic world when it sold for an incredible $120,000 in today's auction market. This coin might look ordinary at first glance, just another quarter, but its rarity, unique characteristics, and the story behind it have made it one of the most talked about coins among serious collectors and investors alike. Imagine this: you're going through a jar of coins you've had sitting in a drawer for years, maybe filled with change you saved up from couch cushions, parking meters, or daily purchases. Among the quarters, dimes, and nickels, you spot a 1987 Washington quarter. Most people would just drop it into their piggy bank or spend it at the grocery store. After all, most 1987 quarters are worth face value, especially if they've been in circulation, but occasionally, among those millions of ordinary coins, something rare and extraordinary can be hiding. And that's exactly what happened with this 1987 quarter. To understand why this particular 1987 quarter became so valuable, we need to talk about what makes a coin rare in the first place. Typically, rarity comes from limited production numbers, mint errors, unusual die varieties, or historical significance. In the case of this quarter, it wasn't that fewer coins were minted in 1987, far from it. Millions of quarters were struck that year at the Philadelphia Mint, indicated by the P mint mark on the coin, but this specific coin has two rare and important features: a large date and a distinct error in the mint mark. Let's start with the large date. In the world of numismatics, collectors pay very close attention to tiny details like the size and style of the date numerals on a coin. In most 1987 quarters, the date has a standard size that collectors are familiar with. But in extremely rare cases, a different punch was used during the die creation process, resulting in numerals that are slightly larger, thicker, and more pronounced than normal. This variation is so subtle that only trained eyes or magnification tools can detect it, but it significantly changes the coin's classification. What might seem like a tiny change, fractions of a millimeter, can be the difference between a common coin and an extremely rare variety. Next, we come to the P mint mark error. The mint mark indicates where the coin was produced. In this case, Philadelphia. Most 1987 quarters from Philadelphia have a perfectly struck P mint mark. But on this rare variety, something unusual happened during the minting process that caused the mint mark to appear different from the standard. It could be slightly misplaced, doubled, or oddly shaped due to misalignment or die issues. Mint mark errors like this are often documented and prized by variety collectors because they provide clues about how the coin was produced and what went wrong during striking. Now let's combine those two features, the large date and the unique P mint mark error, and you have a coin that is exceedingly rare. There may be only a handful of known examples in existence, and most collectors have never even seen one. When a coin is this scarce, even examples with wear and scratches, coins that are not in pristine condition, become incredibly valuable. That's exactly what happened with this particular 1987 quarter. This coin shows clear signs of circulation. The high points of Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers are worn smooth from years of handling. There are visible scratches across the surface, and the edges are rounded and softened from contact with other coins in standard grading terms. This coin would be considered in fine condition, meaning it has moderate to heavy wear, but still retains all major design elements. Most people assume that only coins in near-perfect, uncirculated condition can bring high prices, but when rarity is extreme, condition becomes just one part of the story. And in this case, it didn't stop collectors from paying an astonishing sum. Before this coin ever reached the auction block, it had to go through a rigorous authentication and certification process. Serious collectors and auction houses require verification from trusted third-party grading services, such as PCGS or NGC. These organizations have expert numismatists who examine the coin under magnification, verify its variety, confirm the unique date and mint mark characteristics, and assign an official grade. Certification gives buyers confidence that the coin is what it's claimed to be and ensures it has been accurately described. That authentication is what makes high-value sales possible. Without it, even a rare coin would struggle to achieve top dollar. When this 1987 large date P mint mark quarter was offered at auction, interest was immediate and intense. Collectors around the world, dealers, investors, and variety specialists all recognized that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Bids began climbing rapidly. First into the low five figures, then into tens of thousands, as bidders realized the scarcity of the coin. Live bidding, absentee bids, and online interest pushed the price higher and higher until the final hammer fell at an incredible $120,000. So, why would a circulated quarter with scratches and wear, a coin in fine condition, fetch such a high price? The answer comes down to scarcity, demand, and historical significance. There are very few known examples of this specific variety, and collectors who specialize in Washington quarter varieties understand that this coin fills a gap in their collections that might otherwise never be filled in numismatics. Value isn't just about bullion content or condition or age. It's about how rare a coin is and how much someone is willing to pay to own that rare piece of history. This coin story also teaches us something important about coin collecting itself. Many people see coins as just currency, something to be spent and forgotten. But for those who take the time to study minting history, dye varieties, and subtle differences, coins become windows into the past. They tell stories about how coins were made, how mistakes happened, and how those mistakes sometimes produced something extraordinary. If you're a casual collector or someone who's just starting to explore the hobby, stories like this should inspire you to look more closely at what you already have. You might be surprised at what you find. Next time you're sorting through your pocket change, take a few moments to examine the date and mint mark more carefully. Use a magnifying glass. Compare coins side by side, and don't dismiss variations that seem odd or unfamiliar. Many collectors have discovered rare coins simply because they were curious and took the time to look. Of course, not every unusual coin is valuable. There are many altered coins, artificially enhanced pieces, and common errors that might look intriguing but have little market value. Next coin, the 1997 quarter, with a large date and a P mint mark in circulated, scratched, dusty condition that stunned the coin collecting world when it brought an astounding price in today's auction market. What makes this coin so special, how it was discovered, and why collectors were willing to pay such an extraordinary sum for a beaten-up quarter are all part of a story that's fascinating, inspiring, and truly incredible. Let's start with what most people think about when they see a quarter from the late 1990s. To the average person, a 1997 Washington quarter is just another everyday coin, one you might spend at a vending machine or collect in a jar. These coins were produced in the millions at the United States Mint's Philadelphia facility, bearing the familiar P. Mint mark. Typically, ordinary circulated 1997 quarters are worth face value. Maybe a bit more to collectors if they have nice surfaces, but nothing that would make you think of six figures. But sometimes, the story behind a coin is what makes it valuable, and that's exactly what happened here. This particular coin has two rare characteristics that elevate it well above ordinary status. First, it is a large date variety, and second, it was struck with a rare alignment/detail that makes this version of the P Mint mark unusually distinctive. These seemingly small details are exactly what expert collectors look for. And in this case, they unlocked the coin's exceptional rarity. Let's talk about the large date feature. When you look at the date on a typical 1997 quarter, the size and shape of the numerals follow a standard that was used on almost all of the coins struck that year. But on extremely rare die varieties, a different date punch was used, possibly by accident, that produced numerals that are slightly larger and set differently on the die. This difference is subtle. It might only be apparent when compared side by side with a regular 1997 quarter. But to collectors who study varieties, that difference in date size is a major clue that something unusual happened during the die-making process. Now, let's look at the P Mint mark. Normally, the letter P on a Philadelphia coin is clear and correctly formed, but in this rare variety, the mint mark has characteristics that experts recognize as a distinct error or unusual striking feature. This could mean that the mint mark was struck off-center, struck with a worn punch, or struck in a way that altered its shape or position. Errors like these are often documented in die variety references, and certain versions are known to be extremely rare because very few were ever produced or survived. When a coin exhibits both a large date and a rare mint mark variation, collectors take notice. What makes this even more amazing is that the coin was found in circulated condition, worn from everyday use, with scratches and surface marks, and even dusty from years of handling and storage in coin grading terms. This coin wouldn't even be considered in high grade. It would be categorized as a circulated coin with evident wear and surface imperfections. Yet its story doesn't end there. It begins there. Before this coin ever went to auction, experts had to authenticate it. That meant submitting it to a reputable third-party grading service, such as PCGS or NGC, organizations that specialize in examining coins, identifying varieties and errors, and assigning an official certification. This process is critical because it verifies that the coin is genuine, confirms the rare large date and mint mark features, and assigns a recognized grade. Without certification, even a rare coin would struggle to achieve high prices because serious collectors need confidence that what they are buying is authentic and accurately described. Once the coin was certified, it attracted attention from collectors around the world, especially those who specialize in Washington quarter varieties. These collectors understand that even though coins from modern years like 1997 are usually common, certain die varieties are exceptionally rare and can be extremely valuable. In this case, the combination of the large date and the unusual P Mint mark variation created a scarcity that very few people had ever seen. When the coin was offered at auction, interest was immediate and intense. Bidding started strong and quickly escalated as more and more collectors recognized the opportunity to own something truly extraordinary, a coin that might be one of only a handful in existence. The atmosphere in the auction room and online was electric as bids climbed higher and higher. Collectors and investors alike knew this wasn't just another quarter. This was a piece of numismatic history. Finally, after vigorous bidding, the hammer came down, and the coin sold for an incredible $90,000 for a coin that started as everyday pocket change. That price is nothing short of astonishing. It shows just how powerful rarity and collector demand can be, even when a coin's condition is far from perfect. In fact, This coin's worn and scratched state may tell part of its story. The journey it took from circulation into the hands of a sharp-eyed collector who recognized its potential. So, why would a circulated, dusty quarter with scratches and where command such a high price? The answer lies in scarcity and collector passion, with only a handful of confirmed examples of this specific variety known to exist. Serious collectors are willing to pay significant sums to secure one for their collections. And because high-grade examples may be virtually non-existent, even circulated specimens are highly prized. In numismatics, rarity often outweighs condition, especially with rare die varieties that have strong collector demand. This coin story also teaches us something important about the hobby of coin collecting. Never underestimate the value of knowledge and observation. Most people never look closely at the coins in their pocket change, but collectors, and especially variety collectors, spend time examining date sizes, mint mark shapes, and subtle die differences that most people overlook. It's this attention to detail that leads to discoveries like the 1997 large date P mint mark quarter. If you're someone who enjoys coin collecting, this story should inspire you to take a closer look at the coins you have. Pick up your old rolls, examine coins under magnification, and compare details with reference guides or online images. You don't have to travel to rare coin auctions or own an advanced collection to make a discovery. Sometimes rare coins turn up in the most ordinary places. Of course, not every coin with slight differences is valuable. There are many altered coins, cleaned coins, or coins with post-mint damage that might look unusual, but have little collector value. That's why education, reference materials, and expert guidance are so important. Learning about die varieties, mint errors, and how to accurately identify them is what separates casual collectors from those who make exciting finds. The story of the 1997 large date P mint mark Washington quarter that sold for $90,000 is a reminder that rare treasures can hide in plain sight. It's a story that connects everyday pocket change to the world of high-end numismatics.